Hey, deserving listeners, time to continue watching 90 Day Fiancé. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. As I always say, don't use these videos as a replacement for therapy. If you need a therapist, get one. You deserve it. Let's get to the show.
I brought him to the church with my parents, but he don't like it.
So we saw this, in the last season, and I don't have much of a reaction other than to say that there are a lot of different religions around the world, and even in the United States, there are many churches in the United States that have these sorts of religious beliefs and ways of communing and ways of expressing their devotion to God. There's nothing wrong with it as long as it doesn't impede on other people's rights or it doesn't harm anyone. It's religion. What are you going to do? For Hazel, she is religious and Tariq is not. So how are they going to work this out? We've seen other couples get into some pretty difficult conversations around this, and let's see how the two of them manage this.
Even though Tariq is not religious, I still want to get married in the church because in my family, religion is important, and I want my parents to be happy.
All right, so right off the bat, I'm hearing much more flexibility and much more respect of each other. She's saying, okay, he's not religious, no harm, no foul there, but I'm going to get married in a church because that's very important, and it's very important to my parents, and so hopefully we can compromise in that way. That's a much lower request than asking someone to convert to your religion. So let's see how they manage this.
Chicken and
Buddy, look at that.
Chicken,
Oh, man.
French toast.
Yeah.
Brought you some butter and syrup. Thank you.
I will say I miss eating in restaurants. I know that there have been phases in Seattle where you could eat in restaurants and there were other times when you couldn't, but I just avoided it altogether because it just didn't seem safe. And I haven't been inside a restaurant in months. And I'm the sort of person, before the lockdown, on average, I probably went to a restaurant once a day. I ate a lot of pizza and a lot of breakfast food and a lot of nachos and a lot of hamburgers and a lot of tater tots, salad bars, that kind of thing. Oh, I just miss going to restaurants. I can't wait. I almost was able to get a vaccine because there's a agency nearby. They ordered a bunch of vaccines and they gave them out to all their employees, and they had some extra ones laying around, and they were going to expire in a day because of refrigeration, I believe. And so they put out the call and they said, hey, any therapists in private practice, if you're planning on working with your clients again in person, come on down and we have 300 extra doses. They sold out of them very quickly among therapists, but I almost got one, and it's really early in the rolling out process of the vaccine. But what it woke me up to, this idea of, because it just feels like it's so far in the future, and I just felt like, maybe this thing is going to happen soon. Maybe I'll get vaccinated real soon, and then I can go back to eating pizza and nachos and tater tots and breakfast food.
Listen, all I'm saying is, with the spiritual center, we will just go there to see how you like it, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
Okay.
I never tried this.
Mm-hmm.
Hawaiian food, loco moco, spam musubi. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on.
If Hazel and Ari don't get along, it's done. Dealing with autism is tough. I mean, I just want you to be ready. It's probably not going to be easy all the time.
All right, so this is good. Tariq is telling Hazel, look, my child is special needs, and it's hard to parent a kid anyway, and with the special needs, it makes it particularly challenging, and this is a wonderful conversation. I would imagine that they're going to have to talk about parenting and working together for the rest of their lives if they spend their time together. So this is a good start. They seem to be having a good conversation. A lot of couples on the show will be like, everything's fine, don't worry about it. And then they they just throw everyone into the situation and then it blows up in their face. So Tariq is, he's doing some. Now we'll see what they decide to do as a threesome, what Tariq decides to do. A viable way of moving forward with this would say to Hazel, look, don't worry about parenting. I'll do the parenting side. Feel free to interact as you want. You don't have to interact. We'll take our time here. Now, what some people do on this show and what I've seen people do clinically, which isn't usually a good idea, is that they throw Hazel. It's like, well, we're going to get married, so you're stepmom, so now you're mom. And so mom, be a mom to this child. That usually is going way too fast. Certainly that's a goal you want to shoot for down the line, maybe years in the future, but you have to go slow and see how things work out. So let's see how the two of them, they're starting off good. Let's see if they continue that trend.
It's only my first day in America, and Tariq wants me to agree to get married in this place. But I want to have a wedding like in the Philippines.
So she wants to get married in a Filipino way. And in my neck of the woods, that's, I think, possible. There are a lot of churches and congregations that seem to be mostly, if not all, Filipino people. So I don't know about their neck of the woods. Maybe they'll find something like that.
The ARE isn't a church. I guess you would kind of call it a cultural center for the Enlightenment. It's a place that is welcoming to all ideologies of faith, all of them, all religions and non-religions, like me.
Okay, so there are churches or congregations or centers that are like that around the United States and in Seattle. And sometimes they can appeal to religious people and sometimes they don't. But I'm guessing that this center is not going to appeal to Hazel.
We are here to take the tour.
No, welcome. I've seen you around before.
Yeah, I've been coming here for 17 years.
Well, welcome. I'd be happy to show you around, show you some of the things we got here.
Okay.
So come on.
I'm excited.
All right, so what's happening right here? Well, what's happening is it sounds like he wants to get married in this place, and she is seeing if this is a place where she would like to get married. I'm guessing she's going to say no based on what we know about her. So they both want something different, probably. How do they talk about it? How do they work it out? How do you compromise? How do you listen to each other? How do you express your feelings? Let's see how they do.
Edgar Casey's the most documented psychic of all time.
He's the founder of the ARE.
What is that?
This is the couch Edgar Casey laid on to give readings. He put himself to sleep and would tune into people at a distance.
What do you think? Interesting?
That's interesting. So in my area, I was thinking of Unitarian or Universalist churches. They're not like this. This looks like it's a psychic church of some kind. I'm going to take a guess and say that Hazel is not going to, she'd rather get married in a field rather than this place, because to a lot of Christians, I'm not exactly sure if Hazel is Christian. I think she is. I'm not sure. This sort of thing is actually devil stuff. So this is probably a no-go for her.
And look how big that crystal is. It's like a rocket ship. Couldn't you see yourself getting married here?
It's weird to me. I don't want to get married there.
But I've been going there for years. That's the place that keeps me sane in an insane world.
So they're doing okay. I would like them to validate each other a little bit more. Here's the thing, people. Listen to me on this issue. You can disagree with someone and still validate them. Very important paradigm to absorb. You can say to Tariq, if you're Hazel, I get it. That place is very important to you. I don't want to get married there, though. Here's why I don't want to get married there. But I hear you. That place is very important to you. Or Tariq would say to her, just like, I know that it's very important to you to have a traditional Filipino wedding. I hear you on that one. But I don't know. It wouldn't feel very congruent with who I am. So I'm trying to find something where we can both agree on. I don't know. So you can validate and should validate while also expressing yourself. That usually works out better for, at the very least, lowering conflict and even better to compromise and to find a common ground. But they're doing pretty okay. She's saying, I don't want to get married there. And she's not insulting him. She's not like, I don't want to get married there because that's a terrible, crappy place. She's just saying, yeah, I just don't want to get married there. And he is saying, well, it's a very important place for me. It's a place that I feel safe. It's a place that actually is very meaningful to me. That's okay for him to say too. I wish there'd be a little bit more validation, but of the conversations we hear on this show, this is definitely on the right side of the spectrum, on the healthy side of the spectrum.
Just follow the bricks while you're doing it.
There is one of those things underneath the Space Needle, and I never knew what it was for. Is it for that? I never knew that.
I don't know, honey. I'm not sure about it. Because it's not church.
This is church for people like me who don't go to church.
I think I will think about it.
Again, of the conversations we've seen on this show, this is definitely on the healthy side of things. I would have encouraged them, if I was there, to validate each other more, for her to hear what and try to reflect back to him something like, and of course language barrier is an issue for sure, but something along the lines of, okay, you know what? I like that you like it. I'm unsure about it, and that's what she said, which is great. She's just like, yeah, I'm just not sure about this place. But more validation of like, I could see why you would really like it here. I could see why this place would be very meaningful to you. It's not meaningful to me because I don't know this place, but I understand that for you it makes sense. And for him to say, I get that you are a little wary of this place. Also, it's pretty obvious that it's not that she wants to get married in a particular building. She wants to get married according to her religion and in a building that is sacred according to her religion. So finding a non-religion center is, I'm thinking, the same to her as just getting married in a courthouse or something. I think he thinks it's a compromise because this building has sort of a spiritual angle to it, but it makes sense given what her preference is that it wouldn't be her preference. But let's see how they talk about it. Let's see how they work it out. I hope that the two of them can hear each other and understand each other. There are a lot of different ways to compromise. They could compromise one or the other. They could do both. Some people will do that. Some people will get married in a synagogue and then they'll get married at a Catholic church, that sort of thing. Or they get married in a third location that isn't either one of their locations. Or they get married in someone's backyard and they have two different ministers, one from each religion, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of options, and this happens sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with it. So let's see how they do this year.
I gave up a lot to be with Tariq, and I want both of us make a decision when it comes to our future. I want him to listen to me sometimes.
Come on.
All right. Well, that makes me sad. It sounds like she doesn't feel heard. How could that be facilitated? Well, for her, she could speak up more and say, Tariq, I need you to hear me on this issue, because she doesn't tend to do that. Also, Tariq could take more time to hear more from her and maybe try to get her or help her to feel more comfortable to say how she feels. So that's sad to me that she was crying as she was saying that she doesn't really feel like he listens to her. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.